Welcome back to Algebra 1 class. We are continuing quadratic equations. Today we're going to learn about completing the square. If you're in my class, it's on page 315 to 317. Don't forget that this is extra credit if you're in my class to write down the notes in the video and turn it in with your work. Completing the square is basically where you have part of a perfect square trinomial, but there's a piece missing and you need to find that other piece. Once you do that, you could factor it, and then after you factored it, you could solve by factoring, which is a step that we either already learned or we're getting ready to learn. We're kind of in both places in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, and one of them I have taught solved by factoring, and one of them I haven't, so I'm not sure which is what. But so today on the lesson is we're going to complete the square and we're going to factor. That's all we're going to do. We're not going to solve. We're just going to complete the square and factor. So the rules, and I just made one-word rules right here to kind of give you just like a little something to remember, I guess. Half, square, add, and factor. And I'm going to slowly take you through that on number 1. You're going to take half of the number in front of the x. So half of 10 is 5. Okay? Everybody good there? Okay, and then you're going to square that number. Okay? 5 squared is 25. Then you're going to add it to the end of the equation. I just completed the square. I just fixed that equation. Then I'm going to factor this equation, but I left this here to show you something, that these are all perfect square trinomials, so they're all going to have one parenthesis with the squared on the outside. You're going to take the square root of x squared, and then it's the square root of this, but it's also the thing that you just squared. This is going to be 5, okay? Whatever you just squared in here is what's going to go there, because that is the square root of this number, okay? And that's it. We're done. I've completed it. I put that part in, and I did this part. That's it. All right. So let's look again on number 8. Remember looking at the number in front of the regular x, and I got to take half of it. Half of 2 is 1. Okay. 1 squared, or 1 times 1, is 1. That's what I'm adding. Okay. So I halved, I squared, I added. Now I just need a factor. Parenthesis, square root of x squared. Okay. Whatever this sign is, which is probably going to be positive, and then whatever number is right here. The square root of 1 is 1, so there you go. The reason I'm telling you this right here is because when you get to the fractions, it's so much easier just to have that number right there and use it. All right, now, fractions is where this comes in. It makes it a little bit more difficult. It's not really difficult because you have your calculator. But to take half of a fraction, you're either going to slow down and do regular fraction and multiply it by half to see what you get, or use your calculator. So on problem number 21 here, my number in front of the x is 5/9. I don't know what half of 5/9 is in my head, so I can either use my calculator and go 5, where's my fraction button? 5/9 times 1/2, and I'm going to get 5 over 18. That was my half, and now I've squared it. Okay, when I add it here and I square these things, I'm squaring the top and the bottom of the fraction. So the top of this fraction is going to be 25, because 5 times 5 is 25. The bottom is going to be 18 squared, which is 324. Okay, that's the part that I've added there. Now, if you don't have your calculator and you don't know how to half a fraction, you're basically going to, oh, this was a negative. It's important that that's a negative, because this was a negative. Half of the negative is still negative, okay? So don't forget that. All right, that's important. When I squared, it turns positive, but in this next step, I'm going to double check. Yeah, in this next step, that negative is what needs to go in the parenthesis. So if I'm going to do this without a calculator, I would take 5/18 times 1/2. Okay? Not 5/18. That's the answer. Goofball. Sorry for the noise. 5/9 times 1/2. Okay? 5 times 1 is 5. 9 times 2 is 18. That's where they got that, okay? And since it's negative, it stays negative. So if you don't have a calculator, just multiply by 1/2. It's not that big of an extra step. Okay? Now, for my parenthesis, remember it has the squared out here, square root of this. Now it's going to have this negative sign and 5/18 in there. That's why it's easy to keep this. If for some reason you did that in your head, and you got this number, but then you forgot what it was before that, and then you got to take the square roots of both of those things. So keep this one on there because that's going in your parentheses. All right, the last one I'm going to show you, I believe I gave you like 2 through 26 even, so that's like 13 problems. I've done a couple for you, at least 2 of your even ones. Half of 6, or half of -6, I need to be saying the negative, is -3. Okay, I took half of it. Now I'm going to square it. -3 times -3 makes a +9. I added it, and now I need to factor. And I'm going to have x minus 3 squared because that's the sign that's in there and that's the number. Okay, I hope you understood this, and I hope that you do your best on this assignment. It is one of the simpler ones. I won't say easy. It's not easy for everybody. Everybody doesn't get this kind of stuff. But it is one of the simpler out of the ones we're going to learn. So have a good rest of your day, and God bless.